Israel is undoubtedly one of the most strange countries in history. The world is divided into two against the actions of this state. First and foremost, the United States of America and other major European countries manage to be strong when they stand by this state. In the latest situation, they have derailed events so much that they can even target hospitals where innocent people in Palestine are treated. Similarly, their destruction of bakeries in regions where Palestinians are densely populated, such as Gaza, draws the reaction of the whole world. So why is Israel such a state, and how did these people settle in the Middle East? And if you are not familiar with the geography of Israel, the social structure of the society, and the important strategic points there, let's try to explain what happened in that geography and history in this video. Israel, officially known as the State of Israel, is one of the most powerful countries in the Middle East. Surrounded by Arab countries, this country is the only Jewish state in the world. With an area of 22,000 square kilometers, Israel is one of the smallest countries in the world, approximately 1/5 of Turkey. In fact, it is even smaller than Ankara. The country, which has a coastline on the Mediterranean, has Lebanon to the north, Syria to the northeast, Jordan to the east, Egypt to the south and west, and finally the Gaza Strip and West Verdi, which belong to Palestinian lands both in the west and east. The country also has a coastline on the Red Sea. Until today, Israel has expanded its territory sometimes through wars, sometimes through agreements, and sometimes through occupations. There are even claims that Palestinians sold their lands to Israel at one time. If you look at the border changes from Israel's independence to the present, you can see that the country's territory has been constantly expanding, while Palestine has been wiped off the map. Today, Israel has seized 80% of the 28,000 square kilometers of historical Palestinian lands. In other words, Palestinians can only use 20% of their former lands. No religion in the world, Judaism, has been discussed as much in any society as the Jews. Again, the long and hard struggle of a handful of people, such as the people of Israel and Palestine, for a tiny piece of land like Palestine is rarely seen throughout world history. To understand the reason for these problems, let's delve into the history of Israel and Judaism. According to belief, in the 1750s before Christ, God told Abraham, the son of a pagan family living on the banks of the Euphrates River, to leave his homeland and go to the Holy Lands. That Holy Land was the land of Canaan, where the Semitic communities lived. With the agreement he made with Abraham, God chose him to spread religious truths to all nations and promised him and his people the land of Palestine. This is where the issue of the promised land comes from. The Hebrews, who are descendants of Abraham, see themselves as God's chosen people and believe that they are superior. The name of Prophet Jacob, the grandson of Prophet Abraham, was changed by God to Israel, which means the one who struggles with the gods, and his children were called the sons of Israel. This is where the name Israel comes from. In these lands where Prophet Abraham and his descendants, the Hebrews, lived for many years, a great famine and drought occurred. For this reason, many of the Israelites went to Egypt. The Egyptian pharaoh saw the Israelites, who had become rich over time, as a threat and enslaved them. The sons of Israel remained in Egypt as slaves for 400 years, until the arrival of Hazrat Musa. In the 1200s BC, the Israelites, who left Egypt under the leadership of Hazrat Musa and escaped slavery, set out for the promised Holy Land to establish a new homeland. However, they encountered the ancient Philistines, a sea tribe that came to make this place their homeland. Again, local and various tribes lived in different regions. The Israelites fought with the Philistines and local tribes, conquered many regions and established the Kingdom of Israel. Later, Hazrat David conquered the lands of Jerusalem and made Jerusalem the capital and religious center of the Kingdom of Israel. After the death of Hazrat David, his son Hazrat Solomon became the king of Israel. Hazrat Solomon had the Temple of Solomon, which is accepted as the Qibla of Judaism, built in Jerusalem. Today, only a single wall, accepted as the Wailing Wall, remains from the Temple of Solomon. After the death of Solomon, Israel, which could not agree on who would be the king, was divided into two. The northern kingdom was occupied by the Assyrians, and the southern kingdom of Israel was occupied by the Babylonians. And the Jews were exiled to Babylon. Here begins the period of dispersion in which the Jews were forced to migrate. Later, the Persians defeated the Babylonians and helped the Jews return to these lands. Israel, which re-established a state, was invaded by the Greeks and then the Romans. During this period, the son of Mary, Jesus, was born in Jerusalem. Jesus was Jewish by descent. Jesus, who claimed to be the Messiah, began to convey God's message. But the Romans arrested Jesus. The Jews, who were waiting for their Messiah to save them from the Romans' oppression, did not believe that Jesus was the Messiah because the signs they were waiting for did not occur at that time. And Jesus was crucified by the Romans due to the betrayal of one of his disciples, a Jewish clergyman. The grudge of Christians against the Jews, whom they held responsible for the death of Jesus, which would last for years, began with this incident. Although Jews were treated well at first during the Roman rule, this situation changed as a result of the rebellion of Jews who wanted to regain their independence. After this incident, Jews were forced to emigrate from the region and were exiled to different countries. The years of exile began for Jews, and they mostly emigrated to European countries. Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II accepted Jews in difficult situations into Ottoman lands. Jews who began to emigrate to Anatolia settled mostly in the Salonika region and continued to practice their religion freely. And the foundations of the good relations between Israel and Turkey that would last for years were laid here. Jews who were oppressed, treated as second-class citizens and killed for years began to unite around Zionism with the idea of establishing a state of their own in Israel. Zionism, which means Jerusalem, is the ideology of establishing a Jewish state by gathering all Jews in the historical lands of Palestine. In 1902, the founder of Zionism, Theodor Herzl, requested permission from Abdul Hamid II to settle in a part of Palestine in return for paying the Ottoman debts. However, his request was rejected. In fact, Herzl is said in his memoirs to have said that in order for Zionism to achieve its goal, we must wait for the Ottoman Empire to collapse. In 1917, the 400-year Ottoman rule in Palestine ended and British forces took over the region. The British were positive about the idea of Zionism. The idea was also supported by the United States, which thought that a Jewish state in the Middle East would be a basis. The hatred of Jews that started in Germany in the 1930s began to spread to Eastern European countries such as Poland, Austria, and Czechoslovakia. At that time, the Jewish population in Europe was around 9 million. In the Jewish genocide that started with the Nazi regime that came to power in Germany, around 6 million Jews were killed, most of them in concentration and extermination camps. Zionism was now the only solution for Jews. While the British attracted the Arabs to their side against the Ottomans with the promise of independence, they also promised the Jews a homeland. A large Jewish migration began to the Palestinian territories. Their slogan was to settle a people without a land without a people. But the Palestinian territories were not without people. In 1917, 570,000 of the population of 750,000 were Arabs, while only 75,000 were Jews. The number of Jews rose to 650,000 in 1947. The Arabs, who were promised independence and did not want the Jews, revolted. And the Jewish-Arab conflicts began. On May 15, 1948, England withdrew from the territories, leaving Palestine in a problematic state. And the two communities were left alone. The Jews declared the State of Israel on May 14, 1948. The decision, which came into effect on May 15, is remembered by the Palestinians as Al-Nakba, or the Day of the Catastrophe. The first country to recognize the State of Israel 11 minutes after its declaration was the USA. The U.S. stance also paved the way for Israel to be recognized internationally. Guatemala was recognized the following day, and on May 18th, it was recognized by the Soviet Union. No Arab country recognized the State of Israel. The military units of Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon and Iraq took action and declared war on Israel, and this first war ignited the fuse of wars that would last for years between Israel and the Arab states. The winner of the war was Israel, and Palestine was divided between Israel, Jordan and Egypt. While Gaza was given to Egypt, control of Jerusalem was divided between Israel and Jordan. Israel gained the most territory. In 1979, Israel and Egypt signed a peace agreement. With this agreement, Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt, while Egypt became the first Arab country to recognize Israel. Israel declared Jerusalem its entire capital in 1980. During these wars and divisions, Palestinians who were subjected to forced migration had nowhere to go. While Palestinian militants carried out attacks on Israel, the Palestinian people protested. In other words, the war between the two communities has not stopped yet. And bloody actions and conflicts between the two sides continue without any end. Israel reoccupied the entire West Bank in 2002 and Gaza has been under blockade by land and sea since 2007. Most of the land entrances to the Gaza Strip, including control of the sea and airspace, are completely in Israel's hands. Many goods such as food and medical supplies reach Gaza through Israel under control. In May 2010, the Mavi Marmara ship, which brought aid to Palestine with the organization of some Turkish activities and the Free Gaza operation, entered the Gaza coastline directly instead of the Israeli coast. Israeli soldiers raided the Mavi Marmara ship and 10 Turkish citizens lost their lives in the attack. This attack brought Turk-Israel relations to the breaking point. Israel apologized to Turkey after the incident and agreed to pay compensation for those who lost their lives. Currently, although a ceasefire has been declared, Israel continues to bomb hospitals and kill children in order to occupy Gaza. Let's take a closer look at the Israeli people, their lifestyles and their government. Israel is currently a republic governed by a parliamentary system. Israel accepts Tel Aviv as its technology and science center and Jerusalem as its capital. However, Jerusalem is not recognized as the capital by the United Nations and many countries. The United States recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in 2017 and moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in 2018. While 316,000 Palestinians live in the city with a population of more than 850,000, the rest of the population is Jewish. Israel's population is approximately 9 million people. 75% of the population is Jewish and 21% is Arab. Hebrew is the country's official language. Hebrew, which has a history of 3,000 years, is one of the oldest languages in the world. Arabic is another regionally recognized language. Religion and race are intertwined in Israel. The word Jew is used as both a religious and national term. Almost 75% of the country is Jewish, 17.7% Muslim, 2% Christian, and 1.6% Druze. The first heavenly religion is Judaism. In Judaism, there is a day called Shabbat, which is reserved for rest and worship. Shabbat begins at sunset on Friday and continues until after sunset on Saturday. It is religiously forbidden to work on Shabbat, and a family Shabbat meal is eaten on Friday evenings. For this reason, public transportation vehicles belonging to Israelis do not operate on Saturdays in the country. The only remaining wall from Solomon's temple is considered a holy place. Jews worship in front of this wall, known as the Wailing Wall. In addition, pork is forbidden in Judaism as well as in Islam. If we look at the society and life in Israel, there is a conflict between the extreme religious and secularists in Israel. In fact, it is observed that there is a serious separation between the two groups based on ideas such as living in different areas, dressing differently, and going to different schools. According to the Jerusalem Institute, the proportion of extremists to the total population is 6%. 60% of men who are extremists are unemployed and spend most of their day in Torah courses. Extremists, 51% of whom are below the poverty line, pay less taxes and are exempt from 3-year military service if they wish. Military service is compulsory for both men and women in Israel. Men serve for 3 years, and women serve for 2 years. It is common and normal for Israel to have armed soldiers around all the time. People are indifferent to these weapons and soldiers. There is a war or armed conflict in the country almost every year. But people have learned to live with this situation and do not complain. Sirens are sounded in cases of conflict and bombings. For this reason, there are shelters in every home and workplace. Sometimes it is necessary not to go out for the whole day because of these sirens. And this situation has a negative effect on people's psychology, including the economy. But other than these incidents, the country is generally safe. When we look at its economy, Israel is in the category of highly developed countries. With a per capita national income of $41,000, the country ranks 20th in the world. Technology-intensive sectors such as electronics, communication, and software are at the forefront in the country. Advanced technology and service sectors are developing very rapidly. Software is a sector that has become rapidly widespread recently. The most powerful spyware ever developed by a private company belongs to Pegasus, an Israeli company. Israel's currency is the new Israeli shekel. Today, $1 is equal to 3.70 Israeli shekels. The minimum wage in Israel is around 5,300 shekels. The average salary is around 11,000 shekels. However, Israel, which is a very expensive country, is the 8th most expensive country in the world. In fact, Tel Aviv was chosen as the most expensive city in the world in 2021. If we give examples of market prices, 1 liter of milk is 6 shekels, 1 liter of olive oil is 36 shekels, and 1 liter of cola is 7 shekels. Jews have also made a name for themselves with world-famous scientists for years. Approximately 900 people who have been awarded the Nobel Prize are of Jewish origin, at least 20% of whom are Albert Einstein, who discovered the theory of relativity and the equivalence of mass and energy, and Sigmund Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis, are just 2 of the famous Jewish scientists. Israel banned the use of fur in 2021. Thus, it became the first country to ban the use of fur, which causes the death of hundreds of millions of animals and indescribable pain every year around the world. The country recycles 90% of the wastewater it produces. With this rate, it is the world leader in water recycling. Israel, which is small but impressive and has places of high spiritual value, is a must-visit country. The first place to see is Jerusalem, which is considered a holy city by all 3 Abrahamic religions. The Haram al-Sharif, where the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, which are considered one of the holiest places for Muslims, are located in East Jerusalem. Muslims believe that the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven from here. For Jews, the Wailing Wall is located just below the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Jews consider this place to be the holiest place of their faith. Christians believe that Jesus was crucified and laid to rest in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. For touristic trips in Israel, the world's lowest lake, the Dead Sea, the Wailing Wall, the country's largest freshwater lake, Lake Tiberias, the Dormition Monastery, Yarkon Park, Tel Aviv and the coastal town of Eilat are other places to see. We have come to the end of our video. You can also share what you know about Israel with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like our video, subscribe and write your valuable ideas to support our channel. See you in the next video.